It's entirely possible that people who are not talking about some topic have been threatened or had their family threatened. Information warfare is the most important, most sophisticated.
And
it could very well be.
I think in another way, she's threatening having 20 or 30 of her outlets drop her when she starts doing a hard line here.
There's a lot of rationalizations, but it can always come down to
you know what, all
ones.
these people who were mentioned earlier. And I mean, it's okay, I think, to mention them because they're leading public intellectuals of the left. They're all courageous. None of them have said they're afraid for their lives. And so
they wouldn't. That's the thing.
I just don't think.
Have you ever been to the firehouse where her studio has been until recently? That place is right near ground zero and could go up in a flash. Wow. If they can take down the 7 towers, I mean, you got to realize she's a few blocks away. It wouldn't take much. The whole
Larry Silverstein is the landlord of Pacifica's headquarters. Larry Silverstein is the landlord.
Wow.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. In defense of Amy Goodman, she and Alan Narn risked their lives in Indonesia.
Exactly.
They took fire. They were.
I think she's heroic, and that's why you have to come up with some rationalization.
Right.
That's the point.
Why are topics
she's courageous.
There are a lot of possibilities.
Literally risked her life. And I don't think that she...
So I have the question that if the elites would be really cornered by 9/11, they may leash out beyond anything we see. I mean, including maybe attacking Iran nuclearly, just to I don't know.
To avert,
Well, there's another
danger too.
Actually, not in a blatant or direct way. But what if what he's saying was that it would cause certain people to push forward an agenda or to speed up an agenda that's already in motion because they felt there was a public arousal that was going to happen and they want to head it off. That's possible. That kind of thing is possible, and then who knows what that would lead to, of course.
We don't have to. We can't worry about what they will do. We have to worry about what we can do and how we can engage. And as long as we're telling the truth as we see it, we investigate, we research, and we just keep speaking out. And other issues are gonna emerge. And that are going to be vital and important. We can't just stay in something that happened 9 years ago.
When it comes to
and we have to continue with it.
No, it's not
in every one of our books every year.
Yeah.
But there's so much else that we have to address as well.
But when it comes to wars, Peter, actually launching wars in Iran looks to be in the crosshairs, right?
We've been writing about that for 5 years now.
Bless you. I couldn't laud you more. But how are these wars normal? What are the detonator caps for the dynamite stick? It's always a false flag operation. Somebody is blamed for something. They're the dupe, and then that's the pretext. That's the justification. That is the whole historical serial story of it. Now, shouldn't we be interested in preventing 9/12, what I call 9/12. In other words, some kind of it'd be worse than the Times Square bomber. They're doing this all the time. This would be a suitcase nuke that they found in a freighter in Galveston Harbor, and of course, what? Iranians have put it there. So if we have a large constituency of people who are aware and conscious of the false flag operations and how they work, we could leap into action and delegitimize the next one that's intended to get us into war with Iran. So that would be proactive.
We're already naming the game. We're already saying this, but you're not going to prevent a 9/12 if the corporate power elite in the world decide they want one.
Well, they might. It's just barely possible that they might think twice if they know that there's a
we're calling them. We're going to pull the covers back if we're
millions.
Yes, I agree.
It's never happened before in history that instantly we'd be on the streets, like hours later. In fact, minutes later. Yeah. So that's something to consider. I mean, it's not a dead issue. False flag operation.
Go ahead.
Well, in Spain, wait. Let's stay on that a minute because in Spain it backfired.
Exactly.
You had a week before the election. The conservatives the polls didn't look too good, but they were going to win. They thought they were going to win, but they needed a 9/11, and they did their 9/11. And a 9/11 was done. And it backfired. The Spaniards all said, "What's this crap?" And they voted for the socialist government and brought them in. And the socialist government immediately took the Spanish troops out of Iraq. So that was a total backfire.
And the word was that
so
in the halls of the Pentagon, there was panic when that election went that way. They hadn't gotten their way with their false flag off that time.
That's right. There's a case where it didn't work, and so that's the question of how to keep them from doing that again.
Well, the Spaniards were wise. 40 years of Franco and so on, and they were wiser to it.
It bolstered public opinion in the U.S., however.
I still think that Times Square guy was a lone assassin.
He's a lone assassin nut.
He was. I saw a photo of him. Holding a propane thing this way.
Was it photoshopped in?
Yeah.
We got to check the photos.
Is there a connection between the London bombings and any other events? Because I can't remember back. Was there elections going on, or was there?
Yeah,
G20.
The G20 was coming up, and world poverty was going to be on the agenda. It was in Scotland, completely derailed. Happened sort of 2 or 3 days before that.
And Rudy Giuliani was there doing training exercises on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't want to be thought of as a one issue.
No, I'm not making it up.
But the 9/11 has resulted in a dehumanization of the Arab world and the Muslim world. It has been propagandistically used to dehumanize people, to prepare public consciousness so that masses of people can be murdered. And and that's what makes this crime, it's like, look, we're lied to all the time. What's the big deal? So it's just another lie. No, this particular category of lies around 9/11 is so monumental, and it's been torqued in such devastating ways to toxify the human consciousness and dehumanize a massive part of the human population. And it's a crime that
we totally agree.
Okay.
We're not going to find any disagreement here.
So then Noam and Amy have a lot of explaining to do why they have a huge public responsibility.
Totally opposed to the war and did nothing but try to fight the war in
Iraq. But I guess maybe the point is that
his point is that imperialism needs these casus belli. They need these enemies. You remember when the Soviet Union fell, there was that panicky period where they had run out of enemies.
Yeah,
they didn't know.
And that's where we're in now.
People were saying, "Let's cut the military budget." No, wait. You don't throw away your overcoat just because you have one warm winter. And they were cooking up a couple of more cold winters. You're right. So the thing still is then, as Peter says, sometimes we can get so caught in the evidence and the questions of evidence and the things itself. I did that with the JFK thing because I just thought it was so fascinating and it was so obvious, thing after thing. But how to web that in as you were doing now,
and the truthers
which is to
have
show
been
that
persecuted.
The empire needs enemies to justify its imperialism.
And this is such a fraudulent creation.
To justify the imperialism to its own population, so that population will pony up another $800 billion military budget next year. And they talk about stimulus packages. We've been having them since 1947. Stimulus packages every year. It's called the defense budget. Yeah. And that's the biggest stimulus package, right? But and that's connected to 9/11. So we don't see 9/11 as one issue, and imperialism, whether Chomsky or anybody is criticizing it, as another issue. But that these are linked together.
They are.
And we could have done. I think the 9/11 people, we could have done more on what the significance of it, what the use of it was, how it was used, how Bush himself
That's what we're doing right here, right now.
We haven't stopped.
You know.
I think Tony should be praised for bringing up the racist aspect of it. I mean, we're all white here, but that's the thing. The left is dedicated against racism, but they're not standing for their own values.
It was gross to see the peace movement
wait a minute.
splitting this guy, a Mohawk activist, off podiums because he's a 9/11 truther, and the fact that he's also an Indian person and he was kept off those podiums, it's hard to not suspect. It's like if you're a minority, an Indian person, talk about your treaty rights, talk about social programs, but you're going to step out and talk about the big issues of life and death, war and peace, and humanity. No, that's for our professors. That's for our elites. And
indeed.